Well, welcome everybody. Glad to have you. So today we'll be presenting PointMan's capabilities in exporting collected data, presented by ProStar, the world leader in the development of precision mapping solutions. My name is Garrett Kohler, and I'll be your moderator for today's presentations. My colleague and presenters for today is Max Moreland, software specialist, and Peter Srajer, chief GIS scientist. Just a quick overview of our agenda for today. Max will be showing you a quick overview of PointMan itself and some data collected within it. And then Peter will be diving into some more details on the exporting of data out of PointMan with some handy formats. And then once the demonstration is over, we'll open it up for questions. So please put those in the Q&A chat and we will answer those at the end. Without further ado, I'll turn over to Max so that he can show you PointMan.
All right, so brief summary of what we're going to be going over today. Mostly going to be looking at how PointMan handles its data variety, how you can configure that data, and then of course how it shows up over the map for it to then be exported, and from there we'll hand it over to Peter. So let me get my screen share going here. That should be the one. Awesome. So then, if everyone can see that all right, we can get going. Oh, I don't zoom in too much accidentally. So as you can see right here, just from this base screen, there's a lot of different color. There's a lot of variety going on the screen. We even got some symbols going on. This is all handled directly by the data dictionary feature function within PointMan that allows you to work through and adjust for color, attribute, how it looks on the screen, what data is put within there. So to get there, you're going to go up to your settings, and under data, you're going to select dictionaries. And this project we're looking at uses our demo dictionary. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And as we can see now here, we have a sort of typical vector data dictionary. Lets you go over all three of the types for points, lines, and polygons. From there, you can configure based off of systems. So your systems are a group of components, and your components all have attributes that can be adjusted and configured really however you want. We try and make it as accessible as possible. So just to show an example, I'm going to select the sanitary trunk here. I'm going to select these three dots to edit our component. And from here, I can adjust the data and also the styling from within. So as you can see right now, we have two pick lists that are attached to this current attribute or current component, excuse me. And there are lots of different types. You can add about as many as you like. As you can see, I hit that plus button in the corner there, and now I have a blank one ready for me to add. These are all the different attribute types you can do. Just a quick run through. A Boolean is a true or false, so a yes or no. You can have a date added to there. A double is a number with decimals within it. A global pick list, or any of the pick lists in general, is a select set of options, almost like a menu for you to choose from. So let's say you just had maybe a color for whatever this would be. You could have red, blue, yellow, green, and then you could just select it and it would pull up that list. You could choose from there. Global pick list just allows you to copy a pick list and set it to another component, even if it's in a different system entirely. That way you're not just recreating the same one over and over. Int is integer, so those are your whole numbers. Note and text allow you to just add in a lot of just text or a note. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Read only allows you to just add in for the first time a set of text that is no longer editable. You can only read it from there. Tag is one of our newer features coming in one of our newest builds with RFID readers that allow you to read in an RFID tag. Time and timestamp both let you put in your date and time on the dot if you want. So for now, I'm just going to say integer. We can name that however we wish. You can go if it's required or not, making sure that whoever is adding in that feature has to fill out that specific attribute within the component. You can set a default if you want. You can just have it set as the last save value. For now, I'm just going to have a default value of 1. I save that. And once that saves, any sanitary trunk that is in the system that was previously entered will now just have a blank integer for you to fill out if you want to go back and fill that out if you might have changed or edited a component from before. So you can see that fills out now. That's there to go. You can also add in a whole new component if you want. You can choose the point, line, or polygon. From there, you can start adding in the attributes just like before. As you can see here, this test hole has a symbol attached to it. We also allow for symbology to be created. So simply choose style and then select component styling to be on. You'll see a nice little picture of what it'll look like on a map. And from here, you can choose if you want it to just be the same color as the rest of the system. You can adjust the color specifically if you want, the opacity, the size, the width, or you can choose a symbol from a select amount that you have. As you can see, we have a few uploaded here, and these are all small PNGs that were uploaded directly to the system. A user can do that just by going to the symbology menu here. I'll go to that in a second before we move it over to Peter. And from here, you can see we have lots of different system types that allow us to really get really minute and detail oriented with our system and the amount of variety in the data that we can have. And there's not a whole lot when it comes to editing a system. You mostly can edit the name and color. If you know the exact color you want, you can enter in the hexadecimal code if you want to. And from here, I'll go into the symbology. So you can see we have a bunch of symbols uploaded. You can edit them, their names, or just the picture in general. If you want to add one, you can select that plus symbol. And from here, you can do a PNG, a GIF, or a JPG. They do have to be within a specific size limit, as the symbols typically get pretty small. And if it's too big, it just does not compress well. But normally, I don't know the exact size limit, but it's normally a smaller file typically. And I think that about covers it all. So let's go back to the map here. Once I return to the application. Here we go. And as you can see, we have a whole bunch of data in this little system right here. This was all out and captured by some of our team, so we have good data to look at. So I can go up here to this water pipe, and I can then look at the pedigree. This is all the captured data that isn't technically part of the data dictionary, but will also get exported out with any of the other data that you choose to export. I can select the line instead of just the, if I can get a little more accurate with my clicks. And then I can even cycle through the different vertices within that line. As we can see, all of the attributes are actually up top here in the info section, while the pedigree is down here. And then from here to export a feature like this, or maybe let's just say we'll export a layer for now. Go to your layer, find the cloud button. As you can see, this one says export layer. We can go here. From here, select your email that you want to enter, the output coordinate system, your unit of measurement, if you want all of the attachments added. And for this specific purpose, we do have lots of ways to export the data, but I would safe to say we'll be going mostly over the shapefile and file GDB. I don't know exactly what Peter has planned for that, but those are probably the two most common we'll be talking about for today. You can even name the file, and from there, that will get sent to that email for a one-button click to download all of that information. So I guess if there are any questions about just the data dictionary or configuring that data before we get started, feel free to put them in the Q&A section. We can get those towards the end. But for now, I'll hand it off to Peter.
All right. Thank you, Max. I appreciate that. Like Max said, and Garrett has also said as well, we're primarily focused on exporting the same data that Max showed you from PointMan. I'm going to primarily focus on both shapefile and file GDB. To be honest, primarily focusing on shapefile. The file GDB is fairly similar and follows the same process. I'm going to primarily concentrate on Autodesk, AutoCAD, using either Map 3D or Civil 3D, which you're required for shapefile imports. If you're interested in the MicroStation DGN file, we also have that as well. I'm going to cover that fairly briefly at the end, but it's certainly available. And if that's something you want to look at, please feel free to get hold of us and we can get you more information on that. Slightly different process, but it's all there. Okay. Like Max showed you there, and I wanted to reiterate this, when you're exporting the layer, shapefile only allows you to have one graphic primitive, either a point, line, or polygon layer. File GDB, you can put all of them in together. In either case, you know, like I said, all it is the export down from that red arrow there, and it goes through. But what I want to make sure that you understand is that on the left-hand side there, make sure you output the coordinate system, and just in case, remember what the output was. In a shapefile format, the PRJ file contains that. We found on occasion AutoCAD doesn't pick up on the PRJ, and to be honest, that's fine, just as long as you remember what you exported as, and then we can actually import that or can add that into the Autodesk import when we do that. So just remember that and it should be fine. Okay. And sorry, next slide there. Okay. We have a short video here on exactly the whole process. We put this together as a team to try to help any of our clients that really need to go into the exact details of how to do this. So once you have your shape file, this is assume it all went well, you have it, downloaded it, unzipped it. Then we basically have this fairly detailed video on how exactly this is done and what you need to do. So we're just going to embed that in here and we can walk through it as we go along. After this is done, I'll explain a few more details on exactly what was done. But this video is also available separately from this, and then we can actually discuss it further. There you go. Anytime you're ready there, Jared.
Hello, this is Peter Srajer. I'm the Chief Scientist at ProStar. I'm going to show you how to bring in PointMan exported shapefiles into an AutoCAD environment. First things first, I am using Autodesk AutoCAD Map 3D 2023 version. The same process will apply with Autodesk full version and within Civil 3D as well. First things first, I just created a blank template here. Now on your right-hand side, there's the display manager, the task pane, and I'm going to click on Manage Data Content, add data. Connect to a data set. I'm going to be adding a shapefile, add SHP connection. Click on that, name it something logical, call it lines, example, and pick which one I want. I'm going to grab the shapefile that I've exported previously from PointMan. Go OK. Make sure it's correct. That's happy with that, and go connect. Now it's showing up the coordinate system here. If it doesn't show a coordinate system here, it could mean that it didn't export it from PointMan, in which case it will probably be a WGS84 projection system. Fine. Go here, edit coordinate systems, and edit so it is that. You'll notice down below here it says the map coordinate system is unknown. That is the coordinate system of your AutoCAD environment. At this point in time, leave that alone, because what it will do is pick up and mimic the coordinate system of your incoming shapefile, which is this here, and that's correct. So then you go find, add to map. It's happy. Now, I'm going to bring in the points as well now. So go here, another one, we call this pedigree. That's actually what it is. Bring in the shapefile. Here it is, open. Good here, connect. And notice you see here the map coordinate system has taken on the previous projection. That's good. All good. Time, add to map, and we're done with this. You can add as many different fields or whatever else you need from here. I just have those two shapefiles for an example. So get rid of that. Now let's move over to that so we can see it a little better. And over to it, zoom in. For example here. So these points are your pedigree. And the lines are just below them here. You notice it's all the same color because I haven't applied a style to it yet. Shapefiles, unfortunately, do not carry style information within them. That is an Esri limitation. Within PointMan, we do have our data dictionaries, which styles based on your components or your systems. What you can do is mimic that within Autodesk. There is something called style in your task pane. So click on the layer you're looking at and click on style. Now, this is a bit of a cumbersome process initially, but it's really only done once. And then once you've done this to, I guess, match your data dictionary, you can apply it to any other shapefiles that you're importing from PointMan. So I'm just going to create a couple of quick ones here so you can see what I'm doing. So on this, create a rule on that. Very simple filter. And I'm going to enter a property here. Say I'm going to base my style on, for example, fixed type. So my fixed type equivalent to a value. I don't know the properties offhand. I can go here and say, what are they? The RTK float and RTK. I'll say, okay, if it's equal to RTK float, then I go, okay. We're going to change it so it's a, for example, a red. Now I know the other one is just RTK. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate this. Instead of saying float, I'm going to remove that. It's an RTK. Just validate to make sure. Good. If it's RTK, I'm going to be happy with it. So it's going to be a green. All good. Maybe change it to say a triangle just for fun, just to show, and apply. Close that off. You can make all sorts of rules and themes here. Once you're done, just save it off and you should be good. Get out of that. And for the lines, let's do something similar. Style on that. Same thing here. Simple filter. Again, you can make all sorts of different ones here. Enter a property. I'm going to base this on materials. Don't honestly know the materials, so let's just grab a list. And there's MW, PE, steel, and unknown. So I'm just going to grab the first one. Okay, and I know there's 4 of them, so I'm going to add 4 duplicates. And just change them as I go along. MW, PE. Steel. Unknown. Let me just spell properly. Validate that just to sure. Okay, so it's MW. I'm going to leave it yellow. PE, I'm going to say change the color to the blue one. Apply that. Steel. Well, let's just change that to black. And unknown. Let's. Whoops. Wrong button. Make that. Oh, a reddish color. And now you notice the symbology has changed, the lines and points are like that. All good. Now you're wondering, okay, where are the attributes? Well, you want to see the attributes, no problem. On your display manager, let's show the table. And there's all your attributes for both layers which you have there. In this case here, the line one. These are all the attributes from the line that we brought in from the shapefile, exactly as it is in the shapefile. Okay. And here we have all the attributes for the pedigree, exactly as has been brought in from the shapefile. Let's see it. Which one is this? And it zooms into it if you select it. And what is this one here? And it tells you what it is. Okay. Now, all you have to do is save this off. CAD PointMan Example 3, save. And now we are done. And that's all there is to it. Thank you very much.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for listening to our little video there. One thing I do want to, I guess, mention, or I will go over a little bit more here, is when you're saving it off, saving the DWG, there's a couple, I guess, caveats that we should mention, and I'm going to go through that right here on how to do it better than what I've explained there. Also, when you're saving, or you've saved as a file GDB, your connector is not going to be the shapefile connector. If you look 2 or 3 levels above that, you're going to be opening as a file GDB connector. Other than that, the process is exactly the same. You'll get several layers if you've exported several layers, possibly different feature types as layers as well, but the process is still the same. You're going to bring them in, make sure the right coordinate system is being picked up, and if you like, style the issues as you wish. The styling, again, bit of a longer process the first time you do it. Once you've done it once and you saved off the DWG file, you can apply that same DWG file to any subsequent imports, and it will pick up those style mappings in AutoCAD. Okay, so what we suggest you do is when you're exporting the DWG, you go under the tools menu on the right-hand side in the display manager tasks pane, and there's a save as AutoCAD drawing. This is slightly different from the save drawing that you find in the main AutoCAD toolbar. Once you do this, next slide there, Garrett, you'll start getting a bit of a different save as dialog, where you can actually make sure that you are getting the proper styling with it, and you're actually getting all the attributes with it. One thing we suggest you do, again, this is your CAD person may, will understand this better than I do in most cases and have his own process, but this is just a way to make sure you get the attributes through it. What you're going to do is, we always suggest that you leave it as an editable file, just because these features now become single entities. We don't have to worry too much about it being multiple polylines or multiple line segments, because PointMan doesn't support that kind of a styling anyway, so it should be fine for you. So choose your method, editable, hit the next button. Specify the location where you want it. Obviously, that's wherever you feel like. The next one. And this is more of the critical one where I was mentioning, make sure you have the attributes with it. What you make sure you do is check the include X data. What this does is then take the attributes that were in that shapefile and write them to X data, which is the attribute location within Autodesk. So once you have that, I would suggest you take a look and make sure your eastings and northings look reasonable, and just to make sure that those are correct. Understand these are, in this case here, because we had a WGS84 export coordinate system, this is in degrees. So when you see the width of 2/100ths of a degree, yeah, that's correct. This is correct on that. And really, that's all you have to do. And once you save that off, and I brought it back into Autodesk, the full version here, to make sure that it was correct and looks good. So we exported that, and the styling that I put in is maintained. You notice the different layers there that are bringing it up, and the styling as I had done before. Next one, Garrett. Now, to make sure that you got the attributes that were brought in from the shapefiles, just type in xdlist into your Autodesk command, and then you'll see there in the top pop-up window all the attributes that came in from that as a code and X data. So just to make sure that they were brought in. And last one there. And that's really the extent of exporting data. Like I said, I primarily focused on shapefile export. File GDB is the exact same process. It'll just have more layers to look at and at once. But that shows you exactly how to get it back into Autodesk. As we mentioned before, if you're looking for a DGN shapefile import, let us know, and we will send you along a detailed instruction list on exactly how to do the same thing. With that, I'm just going to pass it back off to Garrett here, and we'll have any questions for you answered and go from there.
Perfect. Yeah, we got a couple questions here. Thanks, Peter, for presenting that. I really appreciate that. So first question, is there any upper limit to the size or amount of features that can be exported at once?
There is no practical limit. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you start exporting shapefiles with tens of thousands of features, it will take you a few minutes to bring it into Autodesk. That is not a limitation of PointMan or Autodesk. That's just a lot of features you have to bring in. Limitation on a shapefile size is a limitation of your system, and there really is no theoretical limit, but practically, if you got 10 or 20,000 points, I would suggest for logistic purposes, split them up a little bit. Just make it easier on yourself. So again, you can export as much as you want. Import is the same thing. There's no real practical limitation. Second question there. Is there training for importing into MicroStation instead of AutoCAD? Yes, there is, Jeremy. Please send us to your email, and I will make sure you get the instructions for that directly. Anybody else who'd like that as well, please speak up and we'll get it to you. We only went through Autodesk this time because I want to limit this to about a half an hour, 45 minutes, and it takes exactly the same amount of time to do both. So please let us know if that's of interest to you.
Perfect. And I know file GDB, that was a new feature for us.
Yes.
Really handy. So I'm glad we have that now.
Yeah. Just to to expand on that a little bit, that was brought in to PointMan exports just a couple months back, if I'm not mistaken. And like I said, you're exporting out of PointMan. It's an advantage because instead of having to use, each point has to be a single shapefile, or each line or each polygon. This allows you to select across points, lines, and polygons and export it all at once. Very handy feature. Essentially, though, you'll have to use a different connector within Autodesk or within DGN to support it. But that's nothing special about that. Will we have access to the recording? Yes, you will. Garrett, I don't know where it goes from here, but.
Yeah, we'll be reaching out to y'all and getting you that recording so you can have it and share it around if you'd like to your team and that kind of thing. So yeah, that will be available. Then we did have the question earlier, is this only exporting from PointMan Pro and Enterprise, or can we also from Plus as well?
Okay. Two things here. Plus allows you to export KML. KML can be brought directly into ArcGIS as well, but it's a very simple process. Basically, just connect into it, and there's very little customization you can do with it because KML has their own coordinate system and styling that they use. We don't set that our own. So yes, KML is brought in. If you're looking to export shapefile or file GDB, that is a feature of Pro and Enterprise. But again, same concepts applies.
Jeremy's question, can you see any geolocation display from the shapefile on AutoCAD?
Certainly. When you brought it in as the projection, the coordinate system came across with it. And also within the metadata, the attributes that you saw, several of those attributes will be the latitude, longitude, or northing and easting if you're using such a thing, or the site calibration, height, and everything else is with that. But within Autodesk, you will have the X, Y, Z in the coordinate system that it was exported in. So that is there as well.
Perfect. Kirk, is the data hosted on the PointMan cloud system accessible through Civil 3D ArcGIS connector?
Okay, if I understand that correctly, are you asking I'll answer both ways, I guess. The data has to be exported as a shapefile or file GDB. We don't have a direct API connector onto our cloud system. There's been some discussions on that. We have there are some discussions on security implications or that, so we don't allow that directly. So you would have to actually export the data and then go through the Civil 3D ArcGIS connector onto your local machine, not directly into our cloud. If that's so. Let me know if I didn't answer that question properly.
Okay. Then Marlene had the question, do you, PointMan, have access to also jump on screen with us when we need to send shape files? We have a great support team. They'd be happy to jump on with you and help you out with that. Limitations might be mountain time, 9 to 5. We have all of our support here in Colorado with us. So that would be the only limitation there.
Yeah. But we're certainly willing to help you in any way we possibly can. And we're quite, we have a great support team. Jenna's not on here. She heads up our support group and she's fantastic to deal with. So absolutely.
Yep. Another one from Nick. What is the difference between object data and X data? Object data via map import command in Civil 3D.
Okay. You can use the map import as well. That is, you'll basically go slightly different dialogues when it's bringing in, but the same styling is applied, the same ideas. The reason I brought it in the way I did is because I was using Map 3D. But if you have Autodesk, not the light version, but the full version, or Civil 3D, you can use a map import command and you'll get the same similar dialogues. Again, just want to make sure when you save the DWG, use the save as I described it at the end. That way you'll get the X data across properly. We've had some issues. I'm not sure where the issue is, or whether it's an ESRI shapefile issue, where if you just go to save DWG under the main menu bar, sometimes it doesn't like the X data and puts it on properly. So that's the only difference. You can use the map import command and that works just fine too.
Awesome. A question from Jeremy. Can we display a Google Map image behind points once importing into AutoCAD?
Certainly can. That's nothing to do with PointMan. That would be in your AutoCAD environment. If you have access to the Google Map APIs, sure, it'll be georeferenced that to whatever coordinate system was brought in. But yeah, that's something your CAD person should definitely be able to do. It has a full coordinate system.
And raster data as well, correct?
Yeah, any raster data. Google Earth is just a raster data set. Sure.
That's awesome. Looks like there's no more questions. So if you guys want to dump some questions in last minute, we'll answer them. But for now, we will say bye and thank you for joining us.